Hello. All right, Mike, this is for you. You asked me for this. This is something that I wrote. It's quite a long little video here, but um, hopefully this will settle at least my side of the debate. Um, I wrote this all out over the last couple of days. So this is kind of a long one, so I'm not even gonna preface it with anything other than just getting this going right now. So here we go. Well, some people agree with me, but the people that don't and believe that it is the ultimate romantic fantasy for Steve and Peggy to be together really feels out of character for Captain America, because soldiers don't just retire and turn their back on the war. Steve doing this makes it so he can never be called back if peacetime ends. He sits idly by as his best friend is tortured for nearly 70 years, and according to Joe Russo, at some point, presumably after Peggy's death, Captain America travels back to the main timeline to pass on the shield. So, according to Joe Russo, he wasn't always Peggy's husband. So, I know the audio is more important, really, than the video, so I'm going to be reading this off of my second screen here, checking the first screen to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. Alright, so this is going to be kind of rapid fire to get through this long script. In Avengers Endgame, which is ultimately the problem here, there are several areas where it contradicts itself, which leads me to this furious research and opinions like this. The Hulk says that your future cannot become the past. This states that going back in time cannot change the timeline that you are from, which seems true because when Hawkeye steals the baseball glove and brings it across to the Earth 199999, this is never set up to definitively answer this, but this is in fact how the events previously played out. Oh, we don't know for sure that that's the way that it previously played out, but we have to assume that this is an alternate timeline version of Clint's farm, because they were playing catch. They never made any mention of a missing baseball glove, so the fact that he took that ball just further solidifies that it didn't change the past of the timeline that they were in, but it's an alternate new timeline. But would you want to date, marry, or even build a family with someone that you knew exactly when this person was going to die? 2 of the 6 people carrying Peggy's casket to its final resting place is Steve. How? How would you meet your old man Steve version of yourself at the funeral and not react? Simple. Uncle Steve isn't there. It's just way too weird. Did old man Cap divorce Peggy so he wouldn't have to attend the funeral again? That makes more sense to me than old man Cap being there the whole time and just never acknowledged. Getting together with Peggy at the end means that Steve's ultimate sacrifice moment, putting the plane in the water, was undermined and is really no sacrifice at all. Old man Cap seems like a terrible, selfish prick, almost villainous. Did Isaiah Bradley ever fight with Old Man Cap? If so, this is just another thing Old Man Cap knew about but chose to do nothing. In the comics, the super soldier serum halts Rogers' aging due to perfect cells. This was tested when he spent many decades in Earth 69901 and its numerous divergent realities while fighting against Korvac Galactic Empire, repeatedly dying, having time rewound before ultimately returning to his own timeline. That was in Captain America, Volume 3, number 18, by writer Mark Waid and artist Lee Weeks. And then he also spent 12 years in Dimension Z before being returned to Earth the same day that he left, with no noticeable signs of aging. Rogers' healing speed and efficiency is enhanced peak ability, meaning that he heals faster than the average person. The white blood cells and super soldier serum in his body are efficient enough to fight off most microbe, foreign bodies, and other pathogens from his body, giving him high immunity to all infections and disease. Rogers has stated his metabolism is too fast for alcohol. In the MCU, Rogers' natural healing abilities have been artificially enhanced, thus enabling him to recuperate from physical trauma at a greater accelerated rate. He heals injuries which would take a healthy being months to heal within a few hours or even minutes. This is also responsible for his greatly increased longevity. His metabolic efficiency is superior to that of normal men, to the point where he cannot even get drunk under normal circumstances, even drinking Asgardian alcohol with no ill effects. Steve was born July 4th, 1918, and was chosen for Project Rebirth on June 4th, 1943. Steve crashes the plane in the water in 1945, and then nearly 70 years later, he is awoken, and when it would really be closer to 2011, 2012, before the attack of New York. And then 2023 is when he decides to go back to 1947 to 1949, somewhere in there, to begin living with Peggy. And he lived in that timeline all the way up until 2023. Cap was less than a month away from his 25th birthday when he got his superpowers. 2 years later, he crashed the plane. He spent 11 years working for S.H.I.E.L.D., ran away, and spent 74 years in the past. So when he passes the S.H.I.E.L.D. over to Sam, he would have aged to be 112 years old. He shouldn't look that old, but not to mention there's an additional 67 years that he was frozen. 74 years is a long time doing nothing. Nothing. Old Cap sat idly by and watched Hydra take over S.H.I.E.L.D. and launch the Triskelion, never telling or revealing names of loyal Hydra members to prevent anyone's death. Not to mention, he says to Bucky multiple times, "I'm with you to the end of the line." And he sits there and ignoring the fact that Bucky is being tortured and forced to be the Winter Soldier for 70 years. Captain America is just sitting pretty. I mean, come on. What happened to bros before hoes? I mean, with great power comes great responsibility. Nah, this old man Cap takes zero responsibility. He's practically villainous. It seems out of character for Cap to just turn his back on being Cap just for a piece of ass. I know you loved him. I loved him too, but this won't bring him back, Howard. You are the one person on this earth who believes in me. I cannot lose you. Steve is gone. We have to move on. All of us. It's impossible, or as impossible as it may sound. We have to let him go. This is a direct quote from Peggy in the Agent Carter series. But that means absolutely nothing, of course, when Old Man Cap is just waiting for her at home. And what about the footage of her saying that even after Steve died, he was still changing my life? What is that? Peggy says, I have lived my life. Okay, Peggy says this to Captain America and Captain America 2. She looks dead ass at Captain America and says, I have lived my life. The only regret is that you didn't get to live yours. I mean, yeah, she was like old as shit too, but even in her advanced mental state, why would she say that if Old Man Cap had been waiting for her at home? That makes no sense. Cap's fear vision in Age of Ultron shows us that he's standing in an empty ballroom, knowing that he missed the dance and has flashes of the lost memory of them dancing together. This is a reminder to me of the emotional sacrifice that he has given for the greater good. In Endgame, Captain America says, "You did the hardest part. You took the jump. You didn't know where you were going to come down." These are the brave baby steps that we have to take to try to become whole again. You gotta move on. His head drops down as he gazes to the floor. To be whole again. I went into the ice back in 45, right after I met the love of my life. Woke up 70 years later. He shrugs, sighs, and continues. You gotta move on. Gotta move on. The world is in our hands, guys. It's up to us. We've got to do something with it. Otherwise, Thanos should have killed us all. Cap also says in Civil War that the deaths of the innocent are on him and not Wanda, because in the moment that Rumlow said Bucky, he let his emotions get the best of him and people died. That is terrible, yes, but the next time, if they do nothing, more innocent lives will be lost, and that would also be on him for just sitting idly by. Vision then explains how the universal balance works and how having strong heroes just exist seems to invite challenge. Steve seems to take this personally because it just may be the universe that helped create Cap exist as a way to balance out the strength of the Red Skull, who was tipping the scale the other way. Cap pleads with the group to keep their right to choose where and what threats they will hero in, and not just be a weapon for the United Nations to aim. Then Cap gets the text that Peggy has died. After the funeral, Nat comes in and comes to him, and they have a really great but albeit short conversation. He says, "When I awoke from the ice, I thought everyone I knew was gone. I was lucky to have her." And Black Widow responds, "Well, she had you back too." Later she says that staying together is more important than the Accords, and that she was only there to make sure that he did not feel alone. The events of Endgame and time travel here in this movie makes it at least 6 branches that the TVA not only ignore but say are supposed to happen as part of the sacred timeline. We have the alternate Hawkeye farm, the alternate 2012, where the Avengers acquire the Time Stone and Mind Stone, which the TVA destroys after Loki escapes with the Space Stone. And then a 1970, which is either its own alternate 1970, where they steal more Pym particles and the Space Stone, or it could just be the 1970 period of the alternative 2012 that Loki escaped from. The alternate 2014, where Rocket steals the ether from Jane and Asgard, and Frigga learns about the future. 5, the alternate 2014, where Nebula and War Machine gather the Power Stone, and Clint acquires the Soul Stone. And finally, the 6th, where Cap decides to live with Peggy from 1947 or 49 until her death. The TVA was cool until they straight up said to Loki that they were doing what had to happen. I would argue that the only way to time travel without creating branches is by utilizing the Time Stone. But these stones are very underused. Also, an early draft of Endgame, Thanos of the alternate 2014, who is the Thanos at the end battle, who they nicknamed Warrior Thanos because he was younger and faster. He shows up for the final battle, displaying a decapitated head of Captain America from his timeline, which he used as a fear tactic. Like, my God, that would work on me. I'd be shook. But Agent Carter is seen kissing on the lips multiple times. She kissed Spider Raymond, Dottie Underwood, Agent Daniel Sousa, Dr. Jason Wilkes, and then finally Captain America. She was undercover for some, but was romantically linked with Jason and Daniel. She even had a fantasy dream dance with Daniel. She even had romantic tension with Jarvis, and he is shown caressing her leg and knee. She was even shown to be engaged to marry a Fred Wells. Maybe a good husband would understand the kisses while working undercover, but the others are just adultery and wrong. So if there is an old man Cap waiting for you at home with a warm cooked meal, you ain't treating him very good. You're a crappy girl. Captain kisses a few times too. Of course, we know Cap kisses his grandniece if he is Uncle Steve. He also kisses and flirts. It must have auto-corrected that. He also kisses and flirts with Nat. Peggy obviously believes that kissing is cheating because of the jealousness displayed when she finds Captain America kissing a woman who says he saved her husband and wants to thank him. Cap also tells Nat that him kissing her is not the first kiss since he was thawed out. But also in an early draft of Endgame, Captain America was shown to have a house and children with Sharon. I hate Old Man Cap's reasoning to Sam as well. Like, Tony said get a life, so I thought I would use Tony's death and the current peacetime to try that out. According to McFeely, who is a screenwriter, and said that he wanted a moment where the soldier could drop the shield and move on, this kind of moving on again is out of character for Steve, because if the country ever needed to call on him again, he would have abandoned his post. Pre-serum Cap should be suing Old Man Cap for defamation of character. Cap is also the wrong person to put all the stones back the way they were. It should have been Doctor Strange doing that. He could have used the time stone, because he has the knowledge to do so, to rewind the space stone back into the Tesseract, rewind the Mind Stone back into Loki's scepter. He should have been doing this from the astral plane, and he could do this mostly undetected. But I still don't understand how Steve would have showed up in Asgard with the hammer and then just gave the hammer back and then been like, okay, and I gotta inject this ether into this woman. But Doctor Strange would be able to do that. And it was said that Chris Evans was done with the role to never return. So here's my little fix. This is what I would have done to kind of fix all of this nonsense, right? So it's not exactly entirely all of my own ideas, but as far as I know, I'm the only one to compile it all this way and wrap it up so in this way. There would have had to been extra scenes added to Infinity War, so it's not just Endgame. We have to precursor this with some Infinity War scenes. At some point after Thanos acquires the Soul Stone, and after Cap saves Vision and Wanda, we need to see a scene where Proxima meets with Thanos to inform of the failure and talk up the importance of Captain America and his way that he was rallying the strength of those around him, so that Proxima and Corvus Glaive had fallen, right? So they lost that fight. They had to flee. And Thanos hears her, and you can see him activate the Soul Stone, and he learns of Captain America. He learns of his entire past. You kind of see it the way that they were playing Nebula's memories. Kind of see it flash by Thanos in that type of way. And Thanos then says the mission is most important and this day will be won. Consider him neutralized. And then you see the red and blue flash of the reality stone and the space stone activate for a few seconds, and then the screen cuts. And I say that we have to use the not just the reality stone to wipe his power, but I believe, now this could be wrong, but I believe that Howard Stark was using energy collected from the Tesseract to power the chamber that that Steve was in to be powered up. So I feel like it has to be used in the way of it gave the power to remove the power. Otherwise, just make it red. Who cares? But then the screen cuts. It goes to Steve Rogers, and he's scrawny again. Thanos stripped all of the super soldier serum from him. He still has the mind and the will to help out, but he's in all the other scenes as he would have been. He's, talking to Nat about the sandwich and all that. He's still the same person. But we would still go, and he would still go with Tony to 2012 to get the Mind Stone and Scepter. He would still lose the fight with himself, but wins ultimately by name-dropping Bucky the same. He then goes back to the 70s to get the Pym particles, and he can do that without having any super soldier serum in him. He's able to do that. But at the very end of Endgame, when the battle seems lost, he's frail, he can't help out, and he sees Mjolnir. So he picks up Mjolnir and becomes powered again. He's all buff and big, and he's back to being the Captain America that we all know and love. But he's powered up with the Mjolnir, right? And one of the things with Mjolnir is you have to be willing to kill in order to wield it, right? And you have to be able to kill for the greater good in order to be 100% worthy. So he picks up Mjolnir, and then in the end, it is not Iron Man, but instead it's Cap who gets the stones from Thanos and does the snap. And when the screen goes white from the snap, that's when Steve and Peggy have their moment. They're in the Soul Stone in that world, and it can go two ways here. We can either do it how I would rather do it, where they have like a sweet connection, and he tells her that he's sorry and that he never gave up on his best girl, and she says that she knows, and as he leaves the Soul Stone realm, she calls out, like, as he's fading out, like, what about the dance? And he wakes up, all of Thanos' army starts fading away into dust. Bucky and Sam take the place of Pepper and Peter. They're with him. Cap dies. And then we get to see that dance between the same shot-for-shot dance between Steve and Peggy, not knowing if that is either fading thoughts of Steve as he slips away, or if they are just finally together in heaven. But Tony, Robert Downey Jr., is rumored to return in the Ironheart series as an AI or hologram. So why is he dead? Like, this just seems like a bad casting choice to kill off somebody and then right away bring him back to continue the role. But he's going to be either an AI or hologram. He had a family. He could have just lived to be with that family, whereas the Avengers is the only family Cap has. There's nothing left for him except for being with Peggy, and being in the afterlife with Peggy is just as acceptable to me than going back to 1947 and sitting idly by. I just don't get it. They talk about him like living on the moon and stuff now, so they're planning stuff for like, oh well, now that's something we'd like to see. Hopefully we get to see him do that. But no, Chris Evans isn't coming back. We're just gonna have people talking about him like he's around, but we're just never gonna see him again or anything. Old man Cap just proudly sits back and lets Sharon become the power broker, playing around with super soldier serum, making Carly Morgenthau, making U.S. agent. Like, come on, bro. Would he really be doing that? I doubt that shit. Let's see. But yeah, ultimately we'll never find out what happened to Chris Evans as Captain Old Man Cap, because Chris Evans is done. And I mean, even if they brought Chris Evans back, do you think they're gonna want to put him in 4-hour makeup every day? Like, no. They're not gonna. Why would they? It just makes no sense. But all right, so let me tell you, it has been rumored that Chris Evans will be returning to wear the Captain America suit again. But people are kind of speculating that it's going to be a Skrull version of Captain America and not Old Man Cap. But still, like, I just don't understand why you go through all this trouble to make these characters, make these backstories, and then like you killed the wrong guy, the wrong kid died. You know, it just I don't know. So hopefully, this kind of gives you a little more viewpoints to look at when it comes to this whole idea of Captain America being with his girl. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess I'm just a non-romantic fucking psychopath where I don't want it to be the way that it is. But all right, this was a fun first little exercise in futility. But Mike, if you can, check it out, listen to it, see what you think. Oh, I think it sounds pretty good, probably. I don't know. This setup's been working okay. But anyway, thanks for stopping by for episode 1. Very first thing that's getting uploaded to the channel right now. Thank you for being here. I don't know how long this video will be live, but we'll see. Bye.